Welcome back to another episode of Muse where we talk about anything creative. We have your host, Ezra.
And Nasim.
Bro, what we're talking about today.
And today we're going to be talking about failing as an artist.
I mean, I know it sounds surprising, but actually failing, I feel like it's a very positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have a negative view on failing, but I think it's a thing we all have to experience and value.
It's definitely a negative connotation on failing, where failing should, in my opinion, have more of a fulfilling aspect of it, because in order to fail, you got to do what? You have to try. And without trying, you're just limiting your opportunity to, one, even create success in the first place.
Yeah.
So, honestly, like failing as an artist, I think a lot of times, especially your young stages as an artist, you're going to fail. And that's great because the more you fail, the more you can learn and grow, honestly. Like, for example, with a critique, you're learning the way that you're failing as well as the way that you're not failing, you're being successful.
I mean, I feel like that's like a big phrase, especially for young artists, is fail faster. Because, and a lot of people think, like, fail faster doesn't mean give up and give up by failing. It means try as many things as possible. And it's like kind of like you said before to me, like throw things at the wall until it sticks.
That's funny, because I actually had that in my notes. I said, the first thing I really want to talk about is throwing shit at the wall until it sticks, Yeah. Just keep on throwing things at the wall until it sticks. Yo, I got something around me or something. I'm playing. But yeah, just keep throwing things at the wall until it sticks, because honestly, like, I think I told you one time, like, for example, starting a new business. If you start a business for the first time, you never start a business. You never know what you can do until you start in the first place. So, okay, now after you failed let's say the first business failed. Once you fail the first business that you did, Now you set a benchmark. Now you know, okay, boom, I grabbed everything I'm going to get from this business. So the second time I try it, okay, I have a way less of opportunity to fail. And then after that, if you fail again, lastly, the third time, bro, it's practically impossible for you to fail because you're constantly throwing things at the wall, learning from it, and it's going to stick at some point,
True. I mean, I feel like that's a big part of it. It's just like when you'll never like get anywhere without trying it. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of people, like even I had this issue where I would do different things and ultimately I would give up on it faster or not even try because I'm like, oh, that might not work. How do I know? Because once again, you're not the one deciding these things. It sucks as an artist, but a lot of times it's up to people, and sometimes you have to let them decide. Mm-hmm. Because you never know what people appreciate. Just do things that you enjoy.
That's facts. And I think that goes into one of the points that I was really, like thinking about when we was talking about this topic before the podcast. But it was put your failing or just your art into perspective. Perspective is everything. Perspective is key. So when you know what type of artwork you want to produce, as well as what is successful art to you, failing, you can measure it way better. Yeah. So you got to be able to measure it, and you measure failing with perspective as well. Because sometimes you got to be experimental. How can you learn and grow if you're not experimenting and seeing what doesn't work? And we already know art is about connecting. And sometimes to connect, you got to know what you disconnect with. So I got to, gut out everything that I disconnect with just to find that one part that I truly connect with, within myself.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Like, I feel like the whole point about learning is, like, I actually do have a point that I want to mention on that. It's like, a lot of times people have regret with failure. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the word regret, you have to let it go because regret is already a mind blocker. I realize this, that when you use the word regret, you're already thinking, like, I can't learn anything from that. You have to accept those things and transform it into something that is a learning experience to help you grow. Because in the end of the day, that's how you succeed as an artist.
That's true. I actually love that, bro. So, like, personally, in your own art experience, how is it some places where you feel as though that I don't want to even use the word fail, because sometimes, we know words is power, but damn,
I wanted to ask you, I wanted to ask you, like, what were some points that you feel like you actually failed, like, creatively? But
bro, personally, the only time I think I can fail as an artist, or just as a creator, because sometimes I don't really look at what I do when I'm like shooting like an event, like, you know, like shooting like a wedding or a birthday party, then I'm really creating art. Yeah. I think I'm just capturing a time, you know, sometimes. With my personal artwork within photography, street artwork and stuff, I feel a little bit more relaxed because it's for me. But when you're trying to paint an image for somebody, I think it adds extra added pressure. So I think failing only comes in my life when it comes to a gig or something like that. Yeah. So a lot of times when I'm ready to shoot like for example a sweet 16 or a quinceañera or something like that, or even a wedding, you know, I have so much added pressure on myself to do well, and I'm always scared I'm going to fail and they're going to hate the images and it's not going to turn out the way that they thought it would.
True. I mean, I can relate to that on a different stances. Is that when you're an illustrator, you have multiple mini failures. When you're coming up with concepts and designs, like the person will, I don't like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. It's just a bunch of mini failures to eventually get to the goal. So I definitely do relate to that, even though it's kind of like reverse side. I feel like photography and illustration is kind of different. It's like with illustration, you're building up into the product, while it's like photography is like... You're
in the product.
Yeah, you're in the product.
You know, if you don't get this shit done right now, you botched it. Yeah. You know, you botched it.
It's a different pressure, for
that's
sure.
Primarily where I judge myself. But a lot of times, you know, like I said, it's all about perspective. Because after I did it, you know, I'm like, dude, I botched it. I could have did better. I could have did this. I could have did this. But when I look at it, sit down and look at the images, I'm like, these drawings are great.
Yeah.
And some of them are good.
That's a good way.
A lot of them are bad, but a lot of them are also good, you know? So you can't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's like a good way to avoid, like I was saying, regret. Is like, you have to kind of reason with yourself where it's like, there's gonna be bad things there's gonna be bad ones, there's gonna be good ones, there's gonna be great ones, there's gonna be not so okay ones. It's gonna range, and that's okay, because if you don't have those bad ones, you're never gonna want to break out of your comfort zone.
That's facts, but also I think we should be a little bit more open for bad ones.
I like bad ones.
With bad ones, that's how you get what? Happy mistakes, happy accidents. You know, you want those happy accidents, because sometimes happy accidents make better work than what you even went out to make. Yeah. You know, so being open for all different things. You can be inspired by accidents. I know one time I was editing a picture and I just made a mistake on the color grade. I'm like, bro, this color grade, I thought I botched it, but this is very, very good. And I like this. And it adds another level of creativity to my work. You know, even though it is extorted in some way, I definitely like this. You know, so I'm always open for happy accidents, and also finding ways to use those happy accidents mindfully within my work.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that is a skill that I'm trying to work on building. Because for me personally, I feel like there are examples of happy accidents, but in my field, I'm very like detailed and goal oriented, that I feel like I can make an accident that I don't that like, especially with inking and stuff. I feel like there's things that can happen where it doesn't reach my desired goal. I completely call it a failure. Now, once again, I feel like it still does relate, because in the end of the day, I learned from that, and I developed my skills a little bit more of what to do and what not to do. So I think there's different ways of taking accidents. Yeah,
that is true. And I mean, it all comes with perspective. You know, I was thinking about this. For example, a lot of people judge their illustration skills. Like, oh, I'm not as detailed as I would like, or I don't really understand how to draw to that level of realism. But, you know, you got to put into perspective. You know, I play a lot of basketball. How can I expect to be as good as I want to be if I haven't put the hours in? Yeah. You know, a lot of times I take breaks from hooping, and I'm just like, bro, I haven't hooped in forever. How can I expect to be as good as I want to be if I haven't put the hours in, or I actually taken hours away from myself? Sure. So even within your work, put it in perspective. Like, bro, okay, if I want to get to this level of realism, I got to, put those hours in to get to that realism. You know, so as well as even with other ways, like happy mistakes, leaving yourself open and vulnerable for that. Okay, for example, you do a lot of inking stuff. Okay, then hit that level of detail you wanted. Maybe, how can I use this as a way to simplify things, or have more of a, what's it called? Graphic look, as well as when it's kind of hard, like when it's basically like more like up to you. Abstract. You know, give it a more of an abstract look and stuff like that.
Okay. Energy, and I feel you. I do feel like I did have something I wanted to say, which was a minute ago. But yeah, I agree. That's solid.
That's solid for real. So within art school, because you say you like people to tell you, this is shit, I don't like this. And I guess that would be failing in a way. Have you ever experienced that? And would you like to talk on that?
I would say that I didn't really struggle with that much, because I like to upkeep myself. Oh, actually, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that, yeah, we have to put into hours, but I feel like also you have to put into the hours that are meaningful, because you can't just expect to spend all that time, grinding out in the studio, and things, you don't get automatic reception to that practice. So I do feel like you have to set goals and also pull from different things to kind of come with your own curriculum to building yourself up. So I do feel like you have to actually actively think through that, and that's what I did through school. Is a lot of times people will go to class and they would get your critique or whatever. Sometimes they won't even take the critique for real. They'll just keep doing the same thing. What I did was I would take the critique, I would triple it, quadruple it, or even 10 times fold how bad it could have been, and I just make it worse for myself. And it's like, yeah, they said this and that, but I even critique myself even more and tear into it. Then I go home and I practice more outside of the project. It's because I'm actively putting those hours in, but with goal and intention behind it.
That's
to
beautiful.
Get to a certain spot.
But also, you gotta just know that's the type of person you are. Some people don't really respond well to that type of, I want to say, very, very intense training methods. And I definitely do admire that about you, that you make sure to only want and only expect or accept the best out of yourself. I really do admire that about you. And I think about you, I think you embody this one phrase I wrote down was knowing what to fail for, knowing that creativity is worth failing for. You got to ask yourself when doing all these different artwork and stuff, like, is this worth failing for? Because personally, if I'm very, very, in love with something, I'm cool with failing many times to continue to attempt to get better and better and better at it. And that's because you're in love with something. You feel me? Because when you're deeply in love with something, like you're romanticizing your craft and stuff like that, you're going to fail many times, but that's love. Because if you can pull yourself out of that and keep on going, once you get to that point of creativity, you earned it, and that's you. You deserve that. And I definitely think you got to align yourself with that creative idealism.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, but I feel like sometimes the thought of feeling like you deserve through hard work sometimes can be an excessive thought, and it can consume you. So I do feel like it's good to work hard and admire the hard work you did and be appreciative of how far you've gone and the people that support you. But falling into that deserve mentality can sometimes get you stuck, and when you do fail, that would hurt a lot harder. So I feel like being cautious of that is a good thing to add to that point.
And again, like I think you said late, like all the time you always say, like, nothing's promised as well. So I definitely really love how you always understand that nothing's promised and more work must be done. And I think that just when we're when challenges are in our way, we got to understand that we can only grow with challenges. So finding these challenges that, can lead to failure is important, because, okay, if we overcome that failure, we grew, but we did fall victim to that failure. We still get to grow, and that's the best opportunity of that. So being rooted in your creativity and being rooted in your ability to grow from challenges is so essential as an artist, because there's no way you get to a level of detail or a level of, creativity or, expanding your thoughts without failing or without failing to expand your thoughts at one point in time. It don't just come like that.
I mean, I tell you right now, like, all these pieces on the wall, besides ink drawing, all these on the wall are me trying something. I never oil painted before these.
Mm-hmm.
Like I oil painted in Pratt, but I wanted to attempt different things with these pieces instead of doing something simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like these mixed media pieces is a series of 5 of these.
Mm-hmm.
I have newspaper in there with charcoal, aluminum foil that I cut out and glued down, and some of the aluminum foil got wrinkled and stuff in areas. But it added to it, and like you said, that's a happy accident. It looks like a bent up pole. So I feel like even in my creative practice, I experiment with things that surprisingly they worked out.
Yeah.
They didn't really fail too badly, but they could have failed, and I would have been fine with it because I was just trying things out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like another thing, like with me, bro, is like when you're failing in the idea of failing. I think failing is sometimes a harsh word because it's really just could be a minor setback. You know, you got to really understand the difference between failing and a minor setback.
Yeah.
You know, failing is, in my opinion, I will never fail myself, you know? Yeah. So I think failing myself is giving up and not attempting to overcome whatever that challenge is.
Yeah.
A minor setback is just, bro, what I thought would work out didn't work out. You know, let me reassess and plan my next move.
Yeah.
And this does work out. So you got to really be able to understand this that you truly fail and you can't overcome this, or it's a minor setback. And sometimes failing puts you into a perspective where you got to be more creative. Yeah. Because, you know, bro, okay, this path might not be for me to be able to make art in this way. But if I freaking tweak it just a little bit, bro, this path is perfect for me, you know?
I mean, I do agree. I feel like personally I do love the harshness of failing, the word failing, because it motivates me to push harder. And that's just my perspective of it. Because I know, like, if I tell myself that, oh, I didn't fail that, it's just like, you know, I just set myself back a little bit. I feel like I wouldn't push as hard. I feel like, like, I think Mike Tyson said this, but, and I haven't really gotten here, but you have to really achieve that rock bottom to really enjoy the feeling of success, because that's the struggle that's beautiful. It's going all the way from the bottom all the way to the top. And it also even motivates you more. If you're like, say you're like you have a business and you become like you get $3 million, $4 million, whatever, and you go down to 500,000. Yeah. Okay, that's a big money jump, but you know you can that I could consider that they could consider that a fail, a setback, whatever it is. If you go from $3 million and then $3 million in debt, lost your house and stuff like that. You know, that's true failing. That's getting the struggle back up. So I feel like I like to relate myself to those hard times because I just enjoy the beauty and struggle.
And I mean, I definitely agree with that when it comes down to, you know, how can you ever say you achieved all this stuff or continue to achieve more if you're so afraid of failing? You know, if you're afraid of failing, it's crippling in a way. Because if you're afraid of failing, then, you know, oh, dude, I'm just going to keep on doing what I feel safe doing, you know? So I know I can keep on being successful. So sometimes you gotta leave yourself open to not be as successful, and in your words, fail. But as well as, bro, I don't think you can always use the word fail for something as free as art, because what's failing to you, I guess, really isn't meeting the expectation you have for your work. But sometimes in art, it's good to come into our expectation list, because without expectation, then you're free to whatever the art forms into, and then you can try to dive even deeper. So it's more of an exploring type of experiment.
I mean, that's why I always strive to go back to when I was younger, when I did. Surprisingly, as a young kid, I don't know if it's surprisingly, but as a young kid, I did have high expectations for myself. But there was times when I would just doodle on a paper. I did not care, and that paper would probably be thrown away because, you know, it would just get lost, whatever. But I do sometimes wish I can get back to that mindset where I have no thoughts about it and I don't care about it. But then it's kind of hard when your creative practice is so entwined with your success of having a family, you know, getting places in life, getting a house, you know, things like that. So I feel like it is it is hard to bargain with. So I feel like when you're like thinking these over, yes, it is good to think of them as minor setbacks to sometimes come in there expectationless. Mm-hmm. But I also do feel like when you put in years and like years and time into training up your craft to the level that you are, it's hard to separate that, because to a lot of people that's their livelihood.
That's true. And I mean, I think it depends on, it's all about perspective as well as all about where you're coming from. And I think that I know that goes into your perspective. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to art as a fine artist and it is your livelihood, failing to make that financial quota or whatever definitely plays a big role into what you would say is successful. Yeah. But if you're coming into artwork as somebody who is just a hobby or whatever like that, then I feel though they have more of an ability to enjoy all aspects, whether it is a success or a failure.
Yeah, because I feel like if you're to the point where you're viewing it as your livelihood, you're to the point where you can accept yourself failing and not meeting expectations and accepting it and moving on and working to the next one, because that's the end of the day. That's what it is. It's just getting up and moving to the next one.
Hell yeah.
Without slowing down. That's like the main point of it. So I do feel like you are right. Like when you're an artist, get into this for like, say you're doing a hobby or you just want to learn it, or even if you do want to do this for your whole life and you're just, but as just another part of yourself, it is good to be expectationless. And that's how I said it, right?
But I feel as though you should still hold yourself at a standard, though. Yeah. I've been in so many classes where, it's like new photographers and stuff like that, and they walk with this sense of, they just don't really care as much to grow.
But that's what I'm saying,
in the field. Because it's where they're coming from, But as well as they still want to make it their career.
That's what I'm saying. If you want to make it your career, you have to have the mindset to accept that failure.
Yeah, and you're going to fail. You're not going to be as successful as you would like to be. Yeah. And then you're going to have to learn how to grow and overcome those things. Yeah. And it's going to overall make you a stronger artist in all ways.
You're not going to make it regard, like the other words. Like if you can't take that, I'm sorry.
It's been many times, I took portraits and I'm just like, bro, when you take a portrait, primarily all of those portraits you take for that hour are going to be ass. Mm. And it might be a good 25 of them that's like, bro, these are some really, really good ones. But most of them are going to be ass. So you definitely got to, like you say, fail and throw a lot of shit at the wall until it sticks. And then keep on examining why did that shit stick and why the other stuff didn't stick. And then throw shit at the wall the same way. Just chuck it.
Like, honestly, this is kind of I would say not a positive thing for everybody unless it works for you. Yeah. But for me, sometimes I actually like to think that I'm already failing until I'm not failing. Sometimes I like to think like, hey, look, bro,
that is so.
I'm not hitting the marks I want to hit. I'm not not to the point where I'm depressed about and I'm giving up. But I sometimes have that feeling. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not achieving this. I'm not working as hard as I should be. And I like to think I'm in that failing stage until I actually not failing.
But the most successful artists do that, though. And I mean, at the end of the day, whether that puts them in a positive state of mind or not, it works for success. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's essential for you to put yourself in a place where you're working. But as well as I think it's good to also take a step back from that. If that's your mindset, I want to see you go on at least a vacation a year, because you work hard. So you need to have some time to have that leisure, or have that positive vice that's good for you. You know how we like to play a game and stuff. So you need to have a point in time that you're not being so critical on yourself, and it gives you a time where you're not thinking about something that you're so passionate about. Because the only things that can really help us, can really hurt us, is things that we're passionate about, and things that we really love. Yeah. If we don't care about it, then, when you love something heavy, you feel for something heavy. So when you do fail, you feel that. But when you do win, you feel that.
I like to, like, honestly, what I do sometimes is when I'm pensed up doing, like, say, a piece or a work or a job or whatever, sometimes I take a piece of paper and start scribbling at it. I just start scribbling and just doing random doodles, and I just throw it away after, and that loosens me up. Because, like I said, for me, art is a livelihood to me, but it's also like my love language, and And it's just like to be honest, that's the thing I enjoy most of anything. When it comes to any other physical or mental activity, my favorite thing to do is draw, and nothing can beat that. Right. So, in the end of the day, it's like, for me, my work time is drawing, my relaxed time is drawing, my mental health time is drawing, even my physical time is drawing. But then of course I add in other things like, you know, hanging out with my girlfriend, hanging out with you, doing things like these podcasts to help share information with more people, and also just like working out and staying healthy so that I could go back to drawing.
Right. So. For sure. I mean, you know, having like what we're doing now with like, it's really going to give us more opportunities. I know we talk about this in other podcasts. It's like giving us more opportunities to create in different ways. Yeah. So we can explore all aspects of ourselves, but knowing that we're truly inspired by this aspect of ourselves, and that can, you know, go over to your communication aspect, your digital design aspect, or whatever, you know, like your film aspect, your acting aspect, can all be inspired by drawing. Yeah. So that's definitely super, super essential. When you talk, bro, that shit is super depressing. So I definitely want to hop off this topic right now. So thank you so much for watching this episode of The Muse. And I hope you guys have learned something.
I hope you guys want to fail faster.
Definitely fail faster. But yeah, guys, get inspired with us next week. And we're out.